All right, welcome back, friends. This is Real Estate Bites. This is episode number 101. Today we're talking about real estate commissions. So it's been about a year, I believe it was August 17th of 2024, when a new nationwide rule that Ohio and its MLSs conformed to, new nationwide rule went into place that changed the way commissions were negotiated, essentially. Um, and there was a ton of fear about what was going to happen. Uh, what kind of brought this on with me is I was going through some real estate news, and I saw this article here. Let me share this screen. That it just kind of grabbed me and made me want to talk about it. Right. So here's what it says. New rules were supposed to stunt agent commissions. Brokerages say that hasn't happened. Anywhere real estate and companies say average rates have been stable. So the new rules were not necessarily supposed to stunt agent commissions. And I know that there were a number of people in the consumer marketplace that look forward to that. And of course, real estate agents nationwide were terrified of this happening. When it says new rules were supposed to, I don't think that when they say they were supposed to stunt agent commissions, it's not that the rules themselves were designed to damage commissions. It's just that there was an expectation in the industry that these new rules would lead to lower commission rates. And I never really understood that, but that was the thing that was reported from the very get-go, was that these new rule changes were going to change everything, and agents were going to go out of business. And I've only been doing this now going on about 8 years. So I really haven't even seen one full real estate cycle. Okay. I mean, I've sold about 300 properties, but the two big events in my career so far in real estate sales have been the global pandemic in 2000, right? COVID, and then these rule changes, and every time there is an event, I have heard the sky is falling. This is the end for us. Everything's going to change. Look out. We're no longer going to be needed. We're no longer going to have a job, blah, blah, blah. I've got friends who tell me all the time, AI is going to take your job. It's time to start looking for something new. I disagree. I don't think AI can do what we do, but I continue to hear this fear and this panic every single time. I mean, when COVID hit, everyone, it was almost uniform. The people whom I talked to thought that the industry was going to fall apart, home values were going to tank, all this kind of stuff. And the exact opposite of what was expected is what actually happened. All right. So in this regard, when these new rules went into place and all these commissions were supposed to fall apart, and agents were going to get paid less. They're going to have to work harder. And there was supposed to be this mass exodus from the industry of new agents and or part-time agents who could no longer make a living doing this or make any money doing this. Selfishly, I had hoped that exodus would occur, but it didn't. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any evidence of it whatsoever. What did change, what the rules were supposed to change, and what did exactly change was we can no longer advertise if our seller is willing to pay a commission to a buyer broker. That cannot be advertised to other agents in the MLS. All right. We can still have a conversation. We can still call one another, send a message, say, hey, is your seller willing to pay a commission? Right. It's still negotiable. It always has been negotiable for that matter. And that's what it has caused, is that the commission rates are much more open to negotiation now than they were in the past, which is a good thing. It's a great thing. And for that, I'm a fan of these rule changes. The other change was that you needed to have a buyer representation agreement in place before you went to show a home. So if I bring on a new buyer, I've got to put a contract together with them that says, I am your agent and no one else is your agent. And we agree upon a commission that will be paid to me before I ever even go and show you a house. And honestly, I'm sort of ambivalent about that rule change anyways. I admit that before this rule change, I never collected that agreement. I always said to, my client, I will earn your business. We're going to go to work. I'm going to show you homes. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to guide you through this process. And if I do a good enough job, you're going to stick with me. All right. Now that's changed. Now you got to have this representation agreement. This will scare some buyers because now they're locked in, right? And what I used to tell people is, hey, listen, don't be scared that now you're stuck with me, right? It's not like you're going to sign this, I'm going to walk away and ignore you because, well, you're stuck. Because the reality is, just like a listing agreement, if you didn't like the service I was giving you, you could always call my manager and complain, and they'll find you a new agent. So actually, I have more pressure now to perform than I did in the past. Now, that was before I was my own broker and had my own brokerage. And I really don't worry about it anyways, because 9.9 times out of 10, when a new client comes, it's based upon the reputation in my previous work. And I don't even have to compete, right? So that's not a concern. So going back to these agent commissions and what's going on, I can tell you that for me and mine's here at Civitas Real Estate Group, basically absolutely nothing has changed. Okay. Before I left Russell, they would report to us. It was the truth that now that there was greater negotiation happening on behalf of buyer agents and their clients and commissions, buyer broker commissions were actually increasing ever so slightly. People were getting paid more, not less. The industry has not fallen apart. I'm not concerned whatsoever about AI taking my job. So now that we're talking about commissions, it begs the question, what do we get paid for, right? People who don't know, who don't work in this industry, people that have a negative opinion of realtors think, what, you're going to get paid all this money just to open up a door and let us in? I mean, yeah, I've heard that before. It is tremendously insulting because basically I get paid for three things, right? I get paid to find the solutions in the marketplace and put together a deal for you, right? And that deal is by using all of the intelligence that is offered by the marketplace. It is using my experience in the industry, my ability to negotiate. So I'm going to put together a deal for you that does two things simultaneously. It puts forth an offer strong enough to get the seller to say yes, but also with terms that are designed to protect you, your liability, and your pocketbook. All right, that's number one. Number two, once we've gotten that deal together, my job, what I get paid for, is to guide that deal to the finish line, right? Once we enter into a contract, there are four parties who want the same thing, right? Myself and my buyer and or seller, right? We want to sell and or buy the home. And then the other side wants the same thing, the agent and their principal client. We all want the same thing. We want to sell this house and that everybody then moves on to the next chapter of their life. So sometimes it can get real tricky, right? And my job is to use my experience and my resources, which is a team of amazing professionals that I have cultivated relationships with that can help guide through anything, that if there are problems, they will pick up the phone and they will nonstop be dogs trying to find solution. That's who I want in my corner, and that's who I've got in my corner. So I put the deal together, I guide that deal to the finish line, and then once we've gotten through that deal, I'm available for you, my client. I'm available regardless. I have a vast network of professionals that can pretty much handle or guide you through any issue that you might come up with in life, whether it is a legal issue, whether you need a contractor, whether you want to start building your retirement portfolio, whether you need, name it, right? I have sought and developed relationships with those people for the sole reason of being that resource to you. Okay. Those are the things that I get paid for. And considering the amount of time and effort and energy that I spend doing those things, I never feel bad about getting paid. Okay. All right. So the other news story that I wanted to talk about was something that I just saw today. Just want to touch on this real quick before we get into the stats. All right. And that was this. Trump signs order broadening access for alternative assets in 401ks. All right. So is this good? Is this bad? What do people think? There's a lot of people who are going to complain about it. A lot of people who are going to say, this is just designed to help his buddies in real estate, to line pocketbooks of him in the 1%. And hey, listen, it's going to do that. Their pockets are getting lined anyways, right? Everything that the elite does, I don't care what, regardless of who's in office, the rich are getting richer. If you haven't caught on to that, you've been sleeping, or you are so one-sided and all for your party and you're red or blue that you're blind to anything else that's going on. All right. But is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't see why there's a problem with it. Yeah. I mean, real estate over the past 4 or 5 years has earned much greater returns than, let's say a 20-year bond or a 10-year bond, right? That's why these giant companies have gotten into it so deep, right? That's why the BlackRocks and the Vanguards, and that's why these monsters have gone all in on real estate, because the returns are better. Will it always be that way? Of course not, but that's when you can call your financial advisor and tell them to move out of that position and into something that's a little more stable or a little more, a little more, the yields are greater, right? That's the whole point of it, right? But why not let people into it? Now, be aware, there is greater risk. There are greater levels of risk if you get into real estate in your retirement portfolio. There's no doubt about that. And there's more layers. So the big one is litigation, right? There's a lot of litigation in real estate. Things go on in a house, in a rental property, whatever. People sue. There's class action lawsuits. That litigation will have a negative effect on your portfolio. It's just the reality of it. The other thing is there are additional parties, right? So when you invest into a company, you're investing into a board of directors, and you're investing into an industry, right? You're investing into the personnel who run that company. So when you invest into a real estate ETF fund, whatever it might be, you have the people who run that real estate ETF. You've also got the lenders who are involved in there. You've got the landlords who are involved in there, and the different levels of that's going on. So there are just greater, there's greater third, fourth, fifth, sixth party risk involved with real estate. But while the returns are there, why not? And why should people be limited? If it's a legitimate investment vehicle, why should people be limited in what they can actually invest in to try to improve their wealth and their retirement investment portfolio? That's all I got by way of the news stories this week. Let's move into last week's sales statistics here in Lorain County. All right. Share the screen here, pull up this little Google Sheets that I work in. Here we are, episode 101. This morning, there were 491 single-family homes and condominiums available for sale in the MLS. I do not look at for sale by owner simply because there's just not enough to really affect the sample size. And I only look in Lorain County because, well, that's where I operate. That's where the vast majority of my audience is. And I know that counties are different, but, I think the population and the size of Lorain County offers a good enough sample size of what's going on throughout the Midwest that it's worth taking a look at, right? So this morning there were there were 491 single family homes and condos. That does not include for sale by owners. It does not include multifamily, does not include mobile homes. So you can see that our inventory is staying up through the selling season. There were 80 closings this past week. The median square foot of the closing houses that sold last week was 1,808 square feet. The median price was $302,450 of the homes sold last week. Median square foot value. This is our real-time metric that we're looking at to see what's going on with houses. $184.43 per square foot was the median square foot value. Again, we only saw 180. I want to say so 1, 2, 3 times here, starting in Q3 Before that, we never saw it. Never, right? So home prices continue to go up regardless of what you hear on the news, right? There may be things that affect us. I mean, I had a conversation with Jay. He's seen home buyer activity decrease in the months of June and July. That was Jay Sloan with Legacy Home Finance. You know, that might be a leading indicator, and we might see some stats that are lagging that conversation I had with him that show it. But for the homes that sold last week, meaning they went under contract 30 to 40 days ago, $184.43 per square foot. Guys, the prices keep going up. Median days on market, 12. Again, we use median to get rid of the outliers in the top and the bottom. 6.55% was the interest rate on a 30-year conventional mortgage. So those are improving for folks. They remain stable there between 6.75% and 7% for months and months. Now we got down to 6.5% again, right? If you are shopping for a VA FHA loan, you're going to get down below 6% with that rate. So interest rates are improving and more friendly towards buyers, which is probably going to help keep this median square foot value elevated. Okay. And then the last week's big sale of the week was $965,000 in Avon at this beautiful home in Legacy Parkway. Let's show this. All right. So here's this beauty in Legacy Point in Avon Lake. I mean, absolutely gorgeous home. It's what you'd expect for $1 million and not on the lake. Big, beautiful home, fantastic woodwork, nice big formal dining room with a triple trade ceiling. I like that. That's pretty sharp right there. Ornate columns, floor to ceiling windows, floor to ceiling fireplace. You know, just beautiful home. You can see the custom banisters there on the railing. That little catwalk. Big, beautiful open kitchen. The woodwork, the stonework's just gorgeous. Yeah, that's nice. Ohio glass block walls there in the shower and the windows for privacy. Looks great. Big, huge closet. I don't know why they didn't get a picture inside there. But at any rate, that big old monster in Legacy sold for $965,000. And that, folks, is the big sale of last week. So I appreciate you guys joining me as always. If you find this information compelling and exciting, or at least if you think some of your friends and family would enjoy seeing it, knowing it, and hearing about what's going on in real estate, in their neighborhood, in our state, in the nation, tune in here every week with Real Estate Bites. I come at you every Friday, well, most Fridays at noon, give you something to chew on during your lunch hour. And as always, thanks for joining me. I love you people. Take care of yourselves.